Hari Om, everyone. Welcome back to Booklight, our second session, taking the second half of the first pada of Sadhana Pancakam. We'll first begin with the stotram from one of our Booklight team, and then we'll begin.
Namaste Sharade Devi Kashmir Puravasini Tvamaham Prarthaye Nityam Vidyadanam Cha Dehi Me Ya Shraddha Dharana Medha Vagdevi Vidivallabha Bhakta-jihvagrasadana Shamadhi-gunadayini Namami Yamini-natha Lekhalankrita-kuntalam Bhavani Bhavasantapa Nirvapana-sudhanadhim Bhadrakalyai namo nityam Saraswatyai namo namaha Veda Vedanga Vedanta Vidyasthanebhya eva cha Brahma Swarupa Parama Jyotirupa Sanatani Sarva Vidyadi Deviya Tasyai Vanyai Namo Namaha Yaya Vina Jagat Sarvam Shashva Jivan Mritam Bhavet Jnanadi Deviya Tasyai Saraswatyai Namo Namaha Yaya Vina Jagat Sarvam Mukamunmattavatsada Ya Devi Vagadishthatri Tasyai Vanyai Namo Namaha Tasyai Vanyai Namo Namaha.
Thank you, Sahana, for that wonderful stotram. We'll begin with an opening prayer also. Om. Om. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Samasta Janakalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Hari Om, everyone. And again, welcome back. We saw in the first 3 weeks, Vedo Nityamadiyatam. We had a wonderful discourse by Shubhani ji. Then we discussed, and then we had 3 chicks who took those few words and really brought their own texture and flavor to it. If you've had a chance to watch, if you haven't had a chance to watch it, I recommend that you go back to our CHYKWest page on Facebook, and you can see all the recordings there. Today's program will be back to Discourse by Shubhani ji on that second half of the first pada of Sadhana Pancakam. For this, please, we ask, please become manifest for us, all right? So that way Shubhani ji knows that you're paying attention. And if you're there on Facebook, join us on Zoom if you can. You know, that way you can also ask questions at the end. We'll have Discourse by Shubhani ji. And then if you have any questions afterwards, please message them in the chat, you know, to myself or Shubhani ji, and we'll get them answered for you afterwards. Now we'll chant the first verse of Sadhana Pancakam in a lead and repeat format. I'll chant first. Sahana, I believe you'll be chanting after. We'll go back and forth and we'll chant it once as a whole, and then I'll hand it off to Shubhani ji. Vedo nityam adhiyatam
Vedo nityamadhiyatam
taduditam karma swanushtiyatam
taduditam karma swanushtiyatam
teneshasya vidhiyatam
teneshasya vidhiyatam
apachiti kamye matistyajatam
apachiti kamye matistyajyatam
papogah paridhuyatam
papaugah paridhuyatam
bhavasuke dosho nusandhiyatam
bhavasuke dosho nusandhiyatam
atme chavyavasiyatam
atme cha vyavasiyatam
nijagrihat turnam vinirgamyatam.
nijagraha turnam vinirgamyatam.
Now all together. Vedo nityamidhiyatam taduditam karma swanushtiyatam teneshasya vidhiyatam apachiti kamye matistyajatam papogah paridhuyatam bhavasuke dosho nusandhiyatam atme chavyavasiyatam nijagrihat turnam vinirgamyatam. Hari Om. Now I hand it off to Shubhani ji.
Hari Om. So we are in the second session of Sadhana Pancakam, second discourse, I should say, of Sadhana Pancakam. And the verse that we will be exploring today is Taduditam Karma Swanushtiyatam. When we think about action, we seem to perform action every day, and we do whatever we have to do every day. But the question is, are we performing the right action? Are we performing the action that is ordained to us by the scriptures? Are we performing the action that fits our character, that matches our personality, that matches our place and stage in life? So all of these answers will be given today in the discourse. When we see the verse, Tat Uditam, Tat here means the Vedas. Uditam, what's ordained by the Vedas. Karma, that action. Swanushtiyatam means sushtu anushtiyatam. It must be performed well. So whatever actions performed by the Vedas must be performed well. Whatever actions ordained by the Vedas must be performed well. Now, this word karma has many, many meanings, but we're going to take the meaning of action today. When we take karma, there's two major categories of it. One is called that vihita karma, which is ordained, and two is called nishiddha, which is prohibited. So there's two general categories, one which is ordained, one which is prohibited. Now, underneath what is ordained, there are five. The first one is called Nitya Karma. Nitya Karma means my daily karma. The karma that I have to do every day, that is called Nitya Karma. The second one is called Naimittika. Naimittika Karma means occasionally there's some karma I have to do. If I'm part of a family and there is some kind of birth taking place, then I have to be there. Or if there's some kind of wedding taking place, I have to be there. So occasionally some duties will come and I have to go for that. Then we have what is called Kamiya Karma. Now this is not necessarily prescribed, but this is to say if you have a desire, fulfill it in a dharmic way. So if I have a desire, let's say, to be with someone, to have a relationship, Then get married. Do it in a dharmic way. Make it legit. The next one, the fourth one, is called prayashchitta, or atonement. And this we will see more in another session. And the fifth one is called upasana. Upasana is also a mental karma. So we have the vihita, the ordained, and nishiddha, the prohibited. And under the vihita, we have these five. So now when it says tad, that Vedas, uditam, are prescribing this karma to you, what is the karma? We're talking about number 1 and number 2, which is called the nitya and naimittika. These two are the karmas that we should perform very well. Because desire-prompted karma is only for those who have those desires. Atonement is only for those who do prohibited karmas. They have to atone for that. And upasana is for someone who wants to get deeper, much deeper into their spiritual practice. So we are talking about the first two. And the first two are also what we call niyata karma. So in Bhagavad Gita, it says, niyata kuru karmatvam, karma jyayo hyakarmanaha. This is what Bhagavan Krishna tells Arjuna in chapter 3, that you perform your niyata karma. So now we have narrowed it down, my niyata karma. Now, the next question is, okay, how do I know what this niyata karma is? So, of course, we have our shastras, and we saw in depth how vast our Vedas were. And part of the Vedas were our Dharma Shastras. And in those Dharma Shastras, it gives us two key factors to know what is our daily karma. And those key factors are what we call Varna and Ashrama. Varna means color. Ashrama means stage. But Varna here you can take to mean inclination, and Ashrama, stage. So Varna and Ashrama. Now we will first start with the ashramas. So if you look at the vision of the Veda, how they've put everything together, it's really, really fascinating. And what they said is, in the Dharma Shastra, look, a person has a lifespan of about, let's say 100 years. A person has a lifespan, and you divide it into quarters. And you may have heard this before. The first quarter is what we call the Brahmacharya Stage, or the student life. This is when the primary karma, which when that karma is for me, it's called dharma. When that karma is customized for me, it's called my dharma. So the dharma of this brahmachari is to study. That's the main thing, because this child slowly grows up. And what do all the children do? They go to school. They go to school, they learn about different things in school, different subjects. They develop certain skills, certain abilities. They get into music, they get into sports. They're able to meet friends. They learn also to be around people. They learn how to have this social behavior. And in this also stage, what's established is strong roots. So a lot of habits like discipline, like waking up early, like exercising, like eating healthy, all of these various practices are really reinforced in this Brahmacharya stage. And this is why there was this Gurukula system, right? You went to Gurukula, and these are the skills you learned. You learned how to absorb all this knowledge. You learned how to live in the right kind of environment. You learned how to deal with different kinds of people. And this was what your life was about in those first, 20 plus years. And it actually matches what we do today, right? You finish high school by around 17, and you finish college and you're like early 20s. So the student goes through this Brahmacharya vasa or stage. And in that Brahmacharya also the student is taught how to choose his or her own profession that matches according to their aptitude. So now we have aptitude tests and everything like that. But before, all of this was already spoken or said to the students. And so the student would become very aware, acutely aware of what their personality is and in what field they should go to. And the student would then ask the guru permission that, okay, may I now leave and may I go through the next stage of life? So this is roughly Brahmacharya, right? This is what we do. The next one is Grahastha, which is married life. And this is a natural progression that most people do when they want to start a family. So the first dharma of Grahastha is to start a family, right? You can't get married and then just pick a dog and have a dog. No, the Rishi said that if you get married, you have to have at least 2 kids. Why? Because you're 2 older people. And so you have to have at least 2 younger people because the economy has to blossom. If you have no kids, or if you have very less kids, then what's going to happen is there's going to be older people in the population and less younger people. And so the nation will not thrive. So if you take to Grahastha, then your karma there is you must start a family. That's what you have to do. And in that Grahastha also, now it's your turn to earn, because Grahastha is the foundation of the whole society, right? The Brahmacharis, the young ones, when people are in the student life, they depend on their parents, right? Vanaprastha, when our parents are older, they depend on us, right? Because they're older now, they can't do things. And the sannyasis also depend on Grahastha. So Grahastha has to have that dharma that they have to acquire wealth. That's part and parcel of what they have to do. In Brahmacharya, the main thing was to acquire skill, acquire talent, ability, intelligence. But in Grahastha, acquire wealth, acquire property, acquire fame, acquire all of these things and have children. This is what you're supposed to do, right? This is the stage of life. Then slowly, we move into the Vanaprastha stage. And in this Vanaprastha stage, then, what is meant is that slowly the person should turn inwards. It's not now it's not about raising a family and starting a family. Now it's about wrapping up your life, because you're going to die soon, right? So you're the third stage, you're going to die soon. And in our culture, we're not afraid of death. We actually prepare for death. And this is so clearly seen in our scriptures. For example, in Mahabharata, we have Dhritarashtra, who was living with Yudhishthira after all his sons perished. And he was living with Yudhishthira for so many years. And he says, now I'm getting older. I want to go to the forest. So he and Gandhari and Kunti Devi and Vidura, they all go to the forest because they said they want to die peacefully. They want to wrap up everything, wrap up all their engagements, and they want to spend time in contemplation. And that's what Vanaprastha is about. It's about wrapping up one's life. It's downsizing. If you remember in one of the As I Think talks, one of the Swamijis said something beautiful. He said, people shouldn't ask you, when are you going to retire? They should ask, why are you retiring? Right? Because some people in that Vanaprastha age, they want to hold on to their positions forever. And you're thinking, when will they go, But those people just take a long time to go. But Vanaprastha is that age where you got to drop the world now, because the world's dropping you. And then the idea is slowly you get to sannyasa. And this sannyasa, this last stage as the ashrama dharma, is both external and internal sannyas. Internal sannyas means to renounce identification with that very ego, but external also to let everything go, because now the major focus point is the pursuit of truth. Now remember, you can pursue truth in all of the other ashramas, but in sannyasa, it's like that is your main thing. Your whole entire life becomes just about the pursuit of truth. And so slowly, what has been said in our culture, what has been stated in our Shastra, is this is how a person evolves. This is how a person gradually evolves into different stages. And if a person feels that they don't want to go through Grahastha and Vanaprastha, that is also okay. But for most people, that's the natural progression. Now, why am I mentioning this? I'm mentioning this because for some people, even to just be in that ashrama is very difficult. Those who are in Brahmacharya ashrama, the first quarter of their life, sometimes they already want to be in Grahastha, right? You're like 16, 17-year-olds, like, I want to be in a relationship, I want to get married. All of these things come into their minds. The main thing is at that age, study. Study because you have that absorption capacity. You have that memory power. Have you seen these like young kids? They can just chant the whole, Bhagavad Gita, they can chant by heart. All these suktams they can chant by heart. Our age, forget about it. We can't even get past the first page. We're like, we have to look down. Guru Stotram also, we don't know what's next. We jumble it up all the time, isn't it? So that stage, you have that absorption capacity, you have that ojas. It's meant to study and focus. But sometimes in Brahmachari already, it goes to something else. Then you'll find sometimes in Grahastha, they want to be Brahmachari. Then why did I get married? Now I think I want to be a bachelor. Well, you can't do that. Or sometimes in Grahastha, they say, I just want to retire. I just want to retire and I don't want to work anymore. No way. Maybe when you were in Brahmacharya, maybe you could occasionally say, you know what, man, today I just don't feel like getting up. In Grahastha, you can't do that. You have to get up. You have to get up because so many people are dependent on you. You have a whole family to feed, So in Grahastha, you cannot do all of these things. And certainly one cannot say, I'm taking sannyasa now, I'm tired. No, you pick that life, then go through it. Better yet, grow through it. Huh? And in Vanaprastha, that also some people don't stay in that particular karma. This Vanaprastha is meant to go within, to go on pilgrimage, to seek God, to chant God's name. But instead of going for a pilgrimage, everybody wants to go for some cruise. Pre-COVID, I want to go to some cruise and do some safari and do something like that. And Vanaprastha is about embracing your grace, your age, you're aging, and it's fine. That's the way it is. But then there's Botox and hair dye, and they want to look younger. Huh? So there's this denial also in Vanaprastha. And Guruji says so very wonderfully. He says, all of these people, they're older and they put makeup and all of that. They dress themselves well. But when they sit down and when they get up, I know how old they are, So this is, they also don't want to stay in their dharma. So like that, even to stay within the dharma, that itself is difficult. And as I said, our body is made in such a way that the dharma is a particular, it fits perfectly at that stage. It fits perfectly. So for Brahmacharya, you will notice that is the time that there is strength, there is vigor, there is memory power, there is all kinds of things in the body. And so therefore, focus, study, gather, acquire, make use because your body can do it. In Grahastha, the body becomes a little bit bigger. Usually people get married, little weight they gain because so much carrying there is in Grahastha. You have to carry children, you have to carry groceries, you have to carry this, you have to carry that. So little bit bigger. It become more expansive. In Vanaprastha, the eyes also start to fade and the hearing starts to fade. That means turn within. That's a sign right there, turn within. So the body also tells us which ashrama we should be. The mind also tells us. It's not only the Shastra tells us, the whole nature is made that way. And if you see how beautifully our Shastra connects with the natural flow of life. So when it says, karma swanushtiyata, tad uditam karma swanushtiyata, Means stay in whatever ashrama you're in and fully perform fully in that ashrama. No need to go here and there, because that's where you are. And where you are is where you decided to be. That's a fact. We are all here because we decided to be here. So therefore, this is now one aspect of this karma swanushtiyata, this ashrama. And by the way, the Vedas will tell you general things. You have to put the specific things in there. You have to customize it for you. So the Vedas will say, this is what you do in this ashrama, but you have to customize it to your life. That is what you and I have to do. Don't expect a customized detail that for me, what am I supposed to do? That is something we observe. The Vedas will tell us, wake up early. But how early, we have to see in our lives how early we can get up. Vedas will say, eat healthy. Now, what is according to my body, the way my body is, that I should eat. So it does not customize. It generalizes and gives guidelines. That customization that you and I have to do. So apart from knowing which stage we are in life, we have to be creative and actually very introspective to know what we have to do. Now, the next part is we see Varnas. So the Vedas also said, these are your ashramas. This is where you know what karma to do. Now, let's say you are much older now and you have to pick a field to express yourself. Pick a field to explore and pick a field to evolve. So you want to pick a field to express, explore, to evolve. What do you pick? What action should I pick? And so the Vedas say, look at your varna, look at your inclination. What is your inclination? Your inclination is, first of all, it's based on what we call swabhava. Swabhava is nothing but your vasanas. We have to know what our vasanas are. What is that in me that is my natural tendency? It's natural tendency, it's something effortless, and it's something that I'm very passionate about. That swabhava then will determine your guna. Your vasana will determine what kind of guna you have. And I'm sure all of you have studied gunas. Sattvic, Rajasic, Tamasic. We all have those three gunas, that much we know. But there's always one which is going to be predominant. And in this, then we have to, once we establish which is our predominant guna, then we can classify ourselves according to Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Again, these are nothing but classifications based on our guna. So the Brahmana would have a predominant sattvic guna, then Rajasic, Tamasic. Then Kshatriya would have Rajasic, Sattvic, Tamasic. Then Vaishya would have Rajasic, Tamasic, Sattvic. Then Shudra, Tamasic, Rajasic, Sattvic. So based on that, I can classify where I am. And why is this important? Because when I figure out, I take my vasana, I introspect, I take my vasana, and then I say, okay, from this vasana, this is my predominant guna. I can see that this is my predominant guna. When I know this and I kind of classify myself, then the Gita, the Bhagavad Gita, our scriptures, they suggest certain fields of expression for that particular classification. So if the predominant guna is sattvic, let's say, then that karma for that brahmana is discovery, it's invention, it's teaching, it's advising, it's being a doctor. It is in this field where one has to think a lot, one has to envision, one has to create, discover, invent. It's using a lot of thinking. So this is often the think tank of the organization. If my predominant guna is rajasic, then I will get into the field of leading, delegating, organizing, ordering, such as like government, politics, law, police force, army, all of that, those things, it's established order. I feel like when there's an issue, I get fired up. I get really fired up. Why isn't this happening like this? This justice really, really gets to me, or injustice really gets to me. And I wanna make sure that there is justice. So that means there's Kshatriya blood. The Kshatriya blood cannot take an injustice. It cannot take it. So that's the field that I should get into. Then if it's, primarily Rajasic, then Tamasic, then Sattvic, then there's that field of entrepreneurs or business or earning money, managing resources, managing wealth, because that's the kind of mindset that I have. And then there's the Shudra, which that category is that they're not sure yet. And all of us have this, at some point in our lives, we have predominance of each and every one of these things. At some point in our life, we don't know what we want. We don't know where we want to go. We don't know how to express ourselves. And therefore, the Shudras support the society. They're the ones who are able to take instructions. They're the ones who are able to do all the menial work because somebody has to do. And they're the ones who would do it because they're not sure yet what they want to do. And so our Shastra says, see where you're at. See what your vasana is. And based on your vasana, there is that predominant guna. And based on that guna, you take up that field. And that field is called Swadharma. So when it says Karma Swanushthiyatam, what it means is Swadharma. It's you find your field of expression. And I'm not saying career, okay? So let's make these differences very clear. Swadharma is your field of expression that is unique to you, in which you can evolve to your maximum potential. That is called Swadharma. So Swadharma is not necessarily talent, because let's say you and I have some kind of talent, but that talent might not necessarily be my passion. It's just I'm good at it. I'm good at it for some reason, probably practice, but it might not be my passion. Or it's not the hobby. Hobby is something, you take up and then you leave. Now in COVID, so many people have new hobbies, picking up instruments and playing, singing, learning how to bake, learning how to cook or paint. All of these things can come and go. And yes, we become good at it. But the idea is that hobbies are just very transient. Not to say Swadharma is not, but it does change. But hobbies have a quicker way of changing. And it's not also to say that it is a career. Swadharma is not a profession. It's not being a doctor is a Swadharma, or being a business person is a Swadharma, or being a musician is a Swadharma. Swadharma is, as I said, it can translate to a career, but it's not a career. It's not a career. Swadharma can be healing. It can be healing through music, healing through exercise. The Swadharma can be sharing knowledge through teaching, through writing. Swadharma can be creating software or creating for the upliftment of society. So it's a Swadharma can also be being nurturing, being a mother, being that support system. That's also Swadharma. So it need not necessarily be some kind of career, but it is that which is unique to you. And that Swanushtiyata, that you must do. Why must you do it? Because when you do that, you will evolve. And in the next session, we will talk about how how we can evolve and make it more selfless in the next discourse. But when you do your Swadharma, you evolve. Not only that, but everybody also evolves. In the Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 18, it says, Swe Swe Karmani Abhirataha. If everybody engages in their own karma, which is their Swadharma, then they will gain siddhi, they will gain prosperity. Imagine if we were in this society where people had their own special ability but pursued something else. Imagine Einstein, who had his Swadharma was curiosity. He was always curious about how things were, how they were made, why they were made like that. Imagine if this Einstein was told that, oh, you have to be now an accountant. You think about accounting. Not only would he lose out, we would all lose out. We would have all lost out on someone so wonderful. Imagine if someone like, let's say, I would take MS Subbulakshmi. MS Subbulakshmi. She's a very famous singer. She has passed on now. Imagine if somebody told her, okay, MS Subbulakshmi, you have to be a doctor. Imagine that. Or Vishnu Sahasranama has 1 million views or something like that on YouTube. We would all miss out on that. She would miss out on it. We would miss out on it. Now imagine Tom Brady. Now I Googled, not that I watch, I Googled because I have to give you some example that you know. so Tom Brady, right? He's a football player. Imagine if somebody told him, okay, you have to be an engineer. What would happen? Right? I wouldn't lose out, but so many people would lose out, right? Imagine not only him, but so many people. So the idea is that if we don't stay in our Swadharma, it's a loss for us and a loss for everybody else. And that's why he says, Sushtu Anushtiyata means that karma, perform it well. You know, when I was pre-Brahmachari era, I was working in my dad's store, you know, because I had to figure out how to make a living without really working. So I was working with my dad because I was not interested in all of this. And so he has a kitchen store. And then he said, okay, you can help me. I said, yes, I need to earn some money because I need to contribute to the house. I cannot be sitting in the house and not doing anything. So, okay. So now he was trying to figure out what to do with me in the store. And he said, maybe you can sell. And there's the kitchenware and everything. So, but I said, now, you know, if they don't need it, then why would I tell them to buy it? Why can't they just be simple in their lives? And why do you have so many knives in your store? Why not one knife for everything? There's one avocado knife, there's one tomato knife. What is this nonsense? And he said, maybe you should not sell. I said, maybe I should not sell. He said, okay. Then I said, okay, what can I do? He said, can you count money? I said, yeah, I can count money. And he said, so you be the cashier. I said, perfect. And when nobody's there, can I read my Bhaja Govindam? He said, yeah. I said, there. I can sit nicely and not worry about it. Huh? So now, that time was very hard for me to be somewhere where it doesn't suit you, you know. I helped out and I also grew from that experience. But then I find that in this particular field, I'm able to help myself more and to reach out to people more. So like that, when you and I find that field where we can help ourselves more and help other people more, that is called Swadharma. Many people always ask now how to discover, how to find. This takes a lot of reflection, you know, it takes a lot of deep reflection, like what is something that it is in me. It just won't leave me. What is some natural tendency, natural aptitude that I really enjoy that just won't leave me? And you know, many people are afraid to take these leaps because they feel like, how will I make money with this thing, right? You have this passion, you have this aptitude, you have this tendency. How will I make money? Don't think about the money part. Just think about what you would like to do. You know, the biggest mistake we make, the biggest crime, biggest crime that we do is we think very small. We think small and we think that we cannot do it. We cannot make it work. How will I make money? How will I be successful? How will I do this in my life? We think small, and that's a crime. Think very, very big. You mix and match so many things. You will know what happens. You know, when I was thinking of teaching, I thought that I would teach some multicultural course in some school, but I didn't have the teaching degree and everything. So I said it would be very, very difficult. And so that didn't work out. And I said, well, you know, let me just pursue whatever it is I love. Let me just pursue. And all this happened. And now everything is just in perfect order, you know? Just pursue it. Just pursue it. Just take one step, another step, and you will see everything will fall into place. So don't let that fear be there. Even if sometimes it's there, just trust that if you walk towards the right path, everything will become clear. So this is what is called staying within my varna. So now, what have we seen today? Let us just see the whole picture. Okay? Tad uditam karma swanushtiyata. Tad, the Vedas. Uditam, what was prescribed by the Vedas? What is prescribed by the Veda? That karma. Swanushtiyata. Sushtu anushtiyata. Perform it very well. What is that karma? Major categories. It's vihita and nishiddha. Are we talking about nishiddha or prohibited? No, we're talking about enjoined karma. Under enjoined karma, there is 5. Nitya, Naimittika, there is Kamiya, Prayashchitta, and then there is Upasana. Are we talking about all 5? No, the first 2, Nitya and Naimittika, which is also called Niyata Karma. In this, now, what is my Niyata Karma? How do I find out? So remember, the Shastra will give us general guidelines. We have to customize. The general guideline is stick to your ashrama and stick to your varna. Stick to your stage. And it is, one Swamiji said something very nice. Brahmacharya is learn. Grasta is earn. Vanaprastha is U-turn. And sannyasa is no return. So these are the 4 stages. And you stay in your stage. And the 4 varnas, after exploring my own temperament, after introspecting, stay in your varna. Find what it is that you want to do, that you can do, and stick to it so that not only you benefit, but the whole world benefits. And that is what this half a pada, as Amarji would say, means. All right. So we stop here. And if you have questions, then you can, put on chat. Huh? There's one question here. Okay, so that somebody has asked. So I will start with that. And then if anybody else has any questions, you can ask. You said something about the rishis having 2+ kids. I didn't catch. Is it that necessary for grahastha? What if I find out that I can't have children or that it's only financially sufficient to just have one, just out of curiosity? Okay. So first, don't panic. Again, this is a suggestion by the rishis that if you have kids, have 2, because you have to keep population balanced. You cannot have more older people than younger people. You know, in some countries now, they have to pay people to have children because they don't have children in those countries. And when a child is born, everybody gets so happy that a baby is actually there. Huh? It is in some villages, in some places, that is actually the case. So if you cannot have children, I mean, there are so many options. People can adopt children, people can serve children, people can, give towards the cause of children. So many things that you can do if you cannot have children, right? But another reason why it's important to have children and not just a dog, because so many people are get together, but they'll have a dog and they won't have children. This dog will only give you half vairagya. A child can give you lots of vairagya. And that's actually what we need. Vairagya means dispassion. Vairagya is why, vairagya is what we get in Grahastha, in Vanaprastha, in Brahmacharya, all these ashrams. Vairagya is what we get. And children are perfect at giving vairagya. When they're very small, not that much. But when they grow up, definitely. I imagine how much vairagya we gave our parents. We were very, very hard to deal with, I'm sure, in our teenage years. So definitely it's a must. What do we do when our dharma to the community society conflicts with our personal dharma? So, Netra, can you give me an example? So either you can type or...
I can unmute myself. Sorry about that. I was typing it. For example, if our responsibility to the community is to earn, money or something, whereas our personal dharma towards ourselves is, should we want to take up a path where we want to pursue studying as opposed to earning? That kind of makes sense.
You see, you'll have to transition slowly. That is what you have to do. So like, let's say you want to study, but you have to earn. So earn, save up, and then study. It's not something that you can give up right away and then switch. Lots of times we have to have that transitional time where we do have to earn, we do have to, I also had to have, I had to make money, so I had to sit there and do whatever I had to do. But then you save up and then eventually you're able to do what it is you want to do. So it's not, we cannot jump to our Swadharma right away all the time. Sometimes we need to plan for it, do it gradually, but definitely invest in it. Hinduism does suggest you can move up throughout life from these different groups, Brahmin, Kshatriyas, as your gunas shift. Can you explain how that would happen? Yes, that's a very natural transition. So it's not that, okay, now I move to a Kshatriya, okay, now I move to a Brahmana. You move, but it's a transition in your own personality. And you will have to see, at some point, you will feel like you will feel like in that Vaishya stage. And then another point, you feel in the Kshatriya stage. And then after that, sometimes you will feel in the Brahmana stage. So it's a natural progression. It's not that we're actually wanting to move or trying to move or putting forth effort. It just happens. You just observe your state of mind. And your likes also will change. Yeah. Back then, I was totally into, what is this, like rock music and all of. Now if you ask me to listen to that, I get a headache. I don't want to hear that. And now I'm in an apartment and sometimes, my neighbors, they have a lot of parties and I'm like, Hare Rama, I thought I had enough of this, but still I have to listen. So yeah, it just happens. And it's not that I made it happen, it just happens. Now, does Shudra necessarily mean one who is confused about their career path? What about those who are stuck doing menial jobs due to unfavorable external circumstances and not due to their own agency? So remember I said it more has to do with your mind. Don't match the varna to the action. Don't match the varna to the action, because even some very simple clerk person can be very sattvic. It's just so happened that they have to work in that job because of their circumstances. So the varna has to be matched to the guna and not necessarily to the karma, because the karma can be different, as you said, according to their circumstances. So it doesn't necessarily mean that. Okay. Swadharma's definition again is the field of expression which is unique to one's being that can evolve to their maximum potential. Correct? Yes. Correct. Just someone with Kshatriya, Vamana, Shudra, or I think you meant Vaishya, tendencies have a tougher time moving forward in their spiritual path because of more tamasic or rajasic tendencies. Yes. Definitely, somebody with more rajasic tendencies will have a little bit more difficulty advancing in the spiritual path. And that's why you will find Lord Krishna tells Arjuna in chapter 2, Arjuna, Nitya Sattvastaha. Establish yourself in sattva. One thing that Swamiji had told us, that there are 3 best things that you can do in your life. Okay, and this is in the order. Okay, the first, actually there's 4, he said. The first one is to evolve fully and to realize the self. If you want to see the best thing that you and I can do in our lives, the first is evolve and realize the self. That's the first best thing. The second best thing is to help others evolve and realize the self. The third best thing is to live my swadharma. And the fourth best thing is to live a sattvic life. So first, the ones who realize the self are obviously the happiest. The ones who help others realize the self, maybe they're not able to, but they're doing whatever they can to help to people on that path. They will also be very happy. The ones who discover their swadharma and live it will be very happy, guaranteed. And the ones who live a sattvic life will also be very, very happy because they can evolve quicker. So in answer to your question, yes, they will easily evolve, those who are sattvic. All right. I think we have time for 1 or 2 more questions. If anybody has, then you can. Okay. Okay. All right. 2 questions I got already. Okay. What if one doesn't feel the need to go to Grahastha ashrama? Do they stay in Brahmacharya? When do they start changing karma towards others rather than just studying for oneself? So if one doesn't feel the need to go to Grahastha ashrama, do they just stay in Brahmacharya? And when do they start changing karma towards others rather than studying for oneself? If one doesn't feel the need to get married or go to Grahastha, that person must either take to the path of spirituality. But if that's also not something in that person's mind, then take to the path of service. Give yourself to service. The idea is you must marry something. Those who take to spirituality, in a way they marry God. We are married to God. Yeah? Those who, then you can marry service also. Like how Sister Nivedita, her life was spent on education, and the propagation of Indian culture. It is given towards something higher. So you have to move out of yourself. You have to, that's an absolute must. So, but you pick, either it's going to be towards spirituality or it's going to be towards service. If it's not towards a family. Well, of course, that's also family, but like what I'm saying is a partner. As chicks, we should embrace our Brahmacharya ashrama, but shouldn't we also take on karmas of other stages of life? We need to earn money, sustain ourselves, pay off student loans. Like Grahasthas, we need to work on letting go of the ego. Does our ashrama need to be that rigid? So the focus of the ashrama must be that study. So in Brahmacharya ashrama, yes, we need to earn money, sustain ourselves, correct. But the focus of that ashrama must be study, gathering skills, developing talent, because that's your prime time. You know, as we grow older, we don't have that same memory, we don't have that same capacity, we don't have that same ability. You see how the younger people, they know how to use the phone so well, and the computer so well, and everything like that. And as we age, we're like, oh, now how do we do this? You know what I'm saying? So take advantage, because now you have that mental capacity, you have that physical ability. Focus on that, and yes, do other things also. And then when you get to Prahasta, then your focus will shift. All right, one last thing. It says, can you have more than one Swadharma? So I said, at one point in time, you have one Swadharma, but that can encompass everything. So don't feel like it can be limited. Like one Swadharma I was thinking of a few years ago was sharing knowledge through travel, through music, through teaching, through literature. So you make it as colorful, as beautiful as you want. It doesn't have to be limiting, is what I'm saying. So as I said, the big crime that we do is we think small. So think big, make it encompass everything, create something that hasn't been created. Why not? But let it be who you are. Let it be true to who you really are. Then that will be your Swadharma. Okay? All right, I think that's all the questions. So back to you, Amarji.
Thank you, Shubhani ji. For the next session, we'll have discussion. Discussion questions will be there. We'll have our different breakout rooms, small groups. For those of you who are not of chick age, we'll see you at the third session as you watch our chicks speak. This will be a chick-only discussion. But for the third week, 3 volunteers. I'll just take the first 3 hands that I see on the screen. Raise your hand if you would like to speak. Divya, I see you. That's 1. Someone else. I'm trying to scroll through right now. Would anyone else like to speak?
Shrikant, Amarji.
Shrikant, number 2. And oh, come on. This is such a hot topic.
Mira.
Who?
Mira.
Mira. Perfect. All right. All right. So you 3, after we conclude, just stay back for a brief moment, okay? So next Monday, we'll have discussion. Following Monday, we'll have our 3 volunteers speaking live on this topic. And with that, I think no other announcements. Shubhani, anything else?
No, that's it.
Cool. All right. Now we'll conclude. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om